There we go. So what I want to talk to you about is all about Mary this morning, the sister of Martha and Lazarus. All these scriptures are different occasions with Mary, and one thing I find interesting is almost everywhere it mentions Mary, she ends up at the feet of Jesus. She's always humble, and she's always focused on the Lord. And that's what I want us to go away from here today with, is a focus, a humble focus on the Lord. So, John chapter 12, read 1 through 7 here. It said, 6 days before the Passover celebration began, Jesus arrived in Bethany, the home of Lazarus, the man he had raised from the dead. A dinner was prepared in Jesus' honor. Martha served, and Lazarus was among those who ate with him. Then Mary took a 12-ounce jar of expensive perfume made from essence of nard, and she anointed Jesus' feet with it, wiping his feet with her hair. And the house was filled with the fragrance. But Judas Iscariot, the disciple who would soon betray him, said that perfume was worth a year's wages. It should have been sold and the money given to the poor. Not that he cared for the poor, he was a thief, and since he was in charge of the disciples' money, he often stole some for himself. And Jesus replied, "Leave her alone. She did this in preparation for my burial. You will always have the poor among you, but you will not always have me." So Mary makes a public showing here of how dear Jesus is to her, how much she cherished him. And there's a lot of different thoughts from different theologies or different historians, different all kinds of stuff about where Mary came up with this. The King James calls it spikenard, but where she came up with this expensive perfume, and nobody really knows. But what we do know is it was worth about a year's wages, and it probably wasn't easy for her to come by. And that's what she brought to anoint the Lord's feet. And that's a very rare oil or perfume, and it's found in northern India. So that was something that it cost a lot of money to get that down into into the Judea area. And but what I thought was really interesting in this is it was common. Now you better stick with me a minute. It was common for a very important guest at a meal like this to have them to anoint their head with a little bit of olive oil. Of course, they'd give them some water for their feet, or they'd have their servant, the lowest servant, we've talked about that, the lowest servant in the house to wash the feet. Those two things was what was been common. But what Mary does is bring this most expensive. Now, listen, we're not talking about rich people. We're talking about normal people. And so she brings this very expensive oil and anoints his feet. So what Mary really did, she treated his feet as more worthy than the head of an important guest. He said, she did this for my burial. I don't know. Nobody knows. This is something speculated on too. Nobody knows if Mary had the thought and understood that he was about to be crucified, or if this is something she just did for honor, to show how much she loved him. Either way, Mary was doing something that she knew was going to bring some ridicule. She knew people weren't going to like that she brought this very expensive perfume in here and poured it on his feet. She knew that it was countercultural to do what she was doing, and she did it anyway. So, my question to you is, do you hold Jesus dear like that? Do you feel affection for the Lord, and do you show affection for the Lord? Because that's kind of where the American church is we sit right here on our spot, but we don't show the Lord any affection. We dare stick a hand up now and then, but we don't really show the Lord any affection. If we listen in a public setting, Mary went in there and did something that nobody would have felt okay about. Right. What do you mean you're going to take this this perfume that's worth a year's wages and dump it out on his feet. That's not even something that we've ever heard of doing. If she'd have put it on his head, it would have been, it'd have been a little more normal. Wouldn't have been so weird. But Mary didn't care what anybody thought. She didn't care who got upset. It didn't bother her one bit that was countercultural. She didn't care. She wanted to show the Lord how much she loved him and how much she cherished him. And she wanted to give him honor publicly in front of everybody, no matter what it cost her. So, she knew she was going to get ridiculed, but she cherished the Lord, and it didn't matter. Now, I want to ask you, how much do you cherish the Lord today? How much do you love the Lord? Are you willing to do whatever he asks or whatever he puts on your heart? And I want you to think about this too. What we got is a step above what Mary had, because we got the Spirit of Christ living in us, guiding us, strengthening us, and encouraging us, and we still sit on our hands. Listen, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not. But until we learn to lift him up, we're not going to see him draw all men to him. That's what it takes. We got to begin to lift up the Lord. We got to show them that we believe in who we're telling them about. We got to make them understand that who we serve, we cherish him, and he's worth it no matter the cost. We've been conditioned for so many years in this country that we're so much better than everybody else, and we deserve so much more than everybody else, and that's just not true. And the day, I tell y'all all the time, you call it prophecy or whatever you want to call it, but I'm telling you, the day's coming soon that we're going to get the chance to be real Christians. The day's coming soon that we're going to have the knife to our throat. The day is coming that we're not going to get to meet like this openly. We're going to have to be in hiding somewhere. So what we need is to learn how to embrace Jesus and love on him and show the world that we cherish him before we get to that time. Or else we're going to fail. We're not going to finish well. We're not going to have the strength and the encouragement to carry on his message and to carry on his purpose. Sitting on our hands ain't working. I don't know if y'all realize this or not, but we live in a country that has turned completely away from God. We live in a country that is driven by the demonic. We live in a country that honors everything else but the Lord. We live in a country that if you say Jesus publicly, people get upset. Why is that? Because there's something to him. You can talk about Muhammad and Buddha and everybody else all day long. Nobody will ever get offended. But you mention Jesus Christ, and folks go to biting their nails and getting mad and getting aggravated. Because there's power in that name. And the demons don't like it. We got to get to a place that we're like Mary. We'll show him publicly, no matter how much ridicule is coming with it. I'm going to move on to the second point. Try to keep this moving. In John, just back one chapter, most of us are familiar with this, and I mention this story a lot because this is some of my favorite. This is one of my favorite things that happened in the Word of God was when Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead. But do you encircle your life around the Lord? Do you embrace him in that way? Mike, is your daily walk, is it around the thoughts of Jesus? Do we? And I use Mike because I feel like Mike loves me. He won't beat me up. But I've also talked to Mike, and I know that when he goes out and does jobs and different things, it's on his mind. Who can I talk to or help, or what can I mention? Do we encircle our life around Jesus Christ, around his thoughts, around his message, around his purpose? Or do we just go through our day doing whatever we do and don't put any thought into him? This was a big moment right here for Mary. And I hope you get this. We'll read verses 31 and 32. Not even going to read the whole thing because I talk about this a good bit. When the people who were at the house consoling Mary saw her leave so hastily, they assumed she was going to Lazarus' grave to weep. So they followed her there. When Mary arrived and saw Jesus, she fell at his feet and said, Lord, if only you had been here, my brother would not have died. Now, y'all know I talk about this a lot because Martha had already met him when he was coming into town. And she'd already said the same thing. If you'd have been here, my brother wouldn't have died. Right? And Jesus said, your brother's going to rise again. I can't talk about it without getting excited. He said, your brother's going to rise again. And she said, well, I know he will, in the resurrection. He said, I am the resurrection. Listen, he goes on, and here comes Mary down there. The whole time Martha been arguing with him, Mary goes to his feet. Listen, while Martha is arguing over it, while Martha's pleading the case and telling him all this stuff, Mary falls humbly at his feet and brings all her brokenness and lays it right there. Listen, she had some disappointment because she was thinking the same thing. If he'd have been here, he'd have healed my brother. So her disappointment, she brought it. Her broken heart, she brought it. All that brokenness, she laid it at the feet of the Lord and left it right there with humility. While Martha's arguing with him, Mary's crying at his feet. Because her life was encircled around the Lord and around his message. She didn't go down there like Martha to argue a point. What's the first sin? It's pride. I can do it. I'll do it my way. That's the same thing Martha kept getting caught in. That's the same thing we get caught in all the time. I can handle this. I'll do it my way. Let me tell you how it's done. That's the problem with the American church, ain't it? Along the way, somebody making up their way. I want it this way. I want it that way. Look at me. I'm the high-powered preacher. I'll tell you. That's how it got in that shape. We got to learn to encircle our whole life around our soon-coming King. This ain't a game. And I know, I don't even care. The American church has become weak. It's become a joke. It's become something. You watch the news or watching some of the late night TV shows, or you listen. If you love the Lord, you won't be able to watch them long. But when you look at them, we're the butt of their jokes. They make fun of the Lord. They make fun of the church. Does that make you sick? Does that upset your spirit like it does mine? That they make fun of my Lord? But you know what? The day's coming soon, brother, that every knee will bow and every tongue will confess that he is Lord of lords, that he is King of kings. You know what that means, Savannah? That means Muhammad's going to get on his knees. Buddha's going to be on his knees. Every one of these demonic devil worshippers are going to be on their knees admitting that he is Lord of lords and King of kings, because all authority is in his hands. They're joking about it now, but the day's coming. They're not going to be laughing. It's going to be a great and a terrible day. That's why we're here, because that day's going to be terrible. And if the church ain't shining a light, the world's just in the dark. So we got to come out of that. We got to come out of the mamby-pamby sissy Christianity, and we got to get real with people. We got to get serious. We got to show folks how serious this is. So I want to encourage you, even if it's in the public, in front of everybody, like Mary was right there. When you're brokenhearted and you're disappointed, bring it to the feet of Jesus. Humbly surrender right there. Give it to Him. Don't carry it. Don't do it my way. Bring it to Him. Don't argue with Him. Don't try to tell Him which way to go. Bring it to Him. Martha's standing over here arguing, what's this? And oh, you can't roll that stone by. He's been in there 4 days. He's going to stink. Over and over. Mary never said another word. She just brought it and laid it down and trusted the Lord. And then what'd she get? She got to see one of the most miraculous healings, or not even a healing, one of the most miraculous miracles anybody ever saw. A dead man waddling out of a tomb. We got to learn to turn it over, surrender humbly, and build our life around Him and His message and His purpose. We've done too much stumbling and blundering without purpose. I hope that's making sense to you. So, and the last one of these major points here, I'm going to go back to Luke chapter 10, verse 38. This is a tough one. Y'all may really want to beat me up when I'm done with it. You got my back, don't you? I know everybody in here loves me. I might get under your skin, but you love me. Do you accept Jesus' presence with pleasure? Now, I'm just gonna go off on a rabbit hunt here just a second. And again, I'm not trying to be a smart aleck. I've been in the same place that I'm talking about. So I'm talking to me too. Do you accept His presence with pleasure? Or do you accept it with a little uncomfort? When the Spirit of God moves on you, when the Spirit of God says, Lord, I want you to do this. I want you to get up and give a testimony in public, in church service or wherever. Does that make you feel warm and pleasurable, or a little cold and a little indifferent, a little bothered? When the Spirit of God speaks and He says, Scotty, I want you to pray with this woman in Walmart in front of everybody. Does that make you feel good? Or does that make you feel a little bit nervous to follow it? Do we really accept His presence with pleasure? It makes us a little uncomfortable because sometimes He requires things of us that are a little bit against what we want to do. Sometimes He requires things of us that are a little bit tough. Donna, He ever done you that way? I want you to do this, and you had to, okay, here we go. Listen, it's a privilege. I want you to get this. It's a privilege for the Spirit of God to indwell us, to live in us. It's a privilege for Him to say, Vicki, I want you to do this to help somebody. It's a privilege for Him to say, hey, I'm going to just overwhelm you with blessings. We can have that, but we can't sit like this and have it. We'll read just a few verses here. Verse 38 through the end of this chapter. As Jesus and His disciples continued on their way to Jerusalem, they came to a certain village where a woman named Martha welcomed Him into her home. Her sister Mary sat at the Lord's feet, listening to what He taught. But Martha was distracted by the big dinner she was preparing. She came to Jesus and said, Lord, doesn't it seem unfair to you that my sister just sits here while I do all the work? Tell her to come and help me. But the Lord said to her, my dear Martha, you are worried and upset over all these details. There is only one thing worth being concerned about. Mary has discovered it, and it will not be taken away from her. So I'm gonna start this off by picking on my wife and telling her she couldn't get out of hearing about Martha. I aggravate her all the time about being so worried over the details, you know, about the King James in this, Jesus said, "You careful and troubled about many things." So a lot of times when she gets tore up over all the details, she don't have it all together. I'll just say, "Martha, Martha." Listen, I'm not going to pick on the Martha part. I'm going to show you something I hope that is a blessing and a help to you, and possibly something you hadn't seen in this before, because I had never really thought of it this way until I'd done a little digging. So it's probably going to be a little different than you've ever heard it preached on. But Mary, she welcomed the presence of the Lord with pleasure. She welcomed him and his message with pleasure. And I put you a little note right there. I don't know if any of y'all ever saw this or thought of it this way, but she sat in the place of a disciple, knowing that society was against it and that she would face backlash from others. So when a rabbi was teaching, when he was giving them a sermon or a lesson to his disciples, that was a custom that they would sit around at his feet, listening, probably taking a note of some sort, but that was the place of a disciple. Mary had no business sitting at a rabbi's feet while he was teaching. None. Yeah. That was completely against their culture. She was sitting not only in the place of a disciple, she's sitting in the place of a man. She didn't have the rights to sit in the place of a man. She didn't have any right to be where she was at the time. And she knew that sitting at the feet of Jesus with his disciples, putting herself in the place of a disciple, was going to bring backlash. She knew she was going to get ridiculed for that. But she didn't care. The King James, when you read that, said Mary has chosen the good part, and it will not be taken from her. So I want you to pay attention here and notice something. She's sitting, putting herself in the place of a man, putting herself in the place of a disciple, and Jesus didn't scold her for it. He confirmed her as his disciple. Listen, I'm just going to be honest with you, ladies. Jesus right there, he said, "Ladies, I got some work for you that's outside the kitchen. I got some discipleship work for you." I'm not saying it's a bad thing to do the work like Martha was. We need that, and I'm glad my wife does that. I'm glad these other ladies take care of that stuff. But that's not your purpose in life. He said, "I got work for you. Get out here, get in the field, get the plow, and get to work." He included all of them. Yeah. You ever notice everywhere he goes, he includes everybody? The thing that kept making him angry or aggravating him all through the Gospels is when people excluded somebody. All those that were, we talked about it when we went through the book of Mark and in the Bible study, but all these people that had an infirmity, the council, the priesthood had cast them out. I ain't telling them wrong, am I? They wouldn't let them come into the temple worship because they had a problem. They had an infirmity. They were excluded. They couldn't get to God because there was something wrong with them physically. And that's the ones Jesus touched and healed and took care of so they could be included again. See, it was a whole lot more about a relationship with God than it was their physical ailments. He was bringing them back to the Lord, bringing them back to God, giving them a relationship again. That's what he was doing right here. Nobody in Israel at that time had ever heard of a man accepting all these women as followers. A rabbi with women sitting at his feet receiving counsel. Nobody even taught the women how to read the scrolls and the scriptures. He broke barriers everywhere he went. Everything he did was countercultural. Everything he's trying to do through us today is countercultural. Everything he's wanting, the movement. Listen, I pray every day for him to light a fire right here that spreads across the country and around the world. And if you don't believe that's possible, then I'm going to pray for you. I wish you'd tell me. Now listen, I'm not talking about Mickey Mouse. I'm talking about the King of Kings, our soon coming King. He broke barriers everywhere he went. He did different. He made movements that nobody expected. He said things that they couldn't even comprehend. They couldn't swallow it. When he said, eat my flesh and drink my blood, and a bunch of them disciples said, who can even get a hold of this? And they turned and left, not understanding. He was bringing them out of law, fulfilling that law and bringing them to grace. That's why we can sing songs about mercy and grace. You know what mercy is? Not getting what you deserve. You know what grace is? Getting what you don't deserve. And he gave us both. He confirmed Mary as a disciple. He said she's chosen the one thing that matters, and it ain't going to be taken from her. As I said, I put a note on here for you. Jesus broke barriers, and the body of Christ should be doing the same thing today, because our soon coming King commissioned us to break barriers. But how do we do that? And I'm going to close with this. How do we do that? How do we break barriers? We learn how to embrace Jesus. We learn how to cherish him. Not just say it. We learn how to love him from our heart. We learn how to embrace a warm embrace for the Lord every day. I tell you, if you'll hug on him and let him hug on you, it'll change your life. Spend a few minutes alone. Get in your closet. Get in. For me, I bury my face in the back of that little old couch in there in that study room. That way, when I go to hollering in my prayers, it don't scare the far out of everybody else. But get somewhere like that and tell him how much you love him. Ask him to teach you how to love him better. Ask him to teach you sensitivity to his spirit, to the movings, the workings, and the speakings of his spirit, and see if it don't change your life. Because when you hug on him a little bit, boy, he'll put his arms around you and hug you back. And there ain't nothing that feels any better than a warm embrace from the Spirit of God. So we learn how to embrace him. Learn how to encircle or enclose him in our life. Build it around him every day. And we learn how to accept his presence with pleasure. Don't be scared when the Spirit of God speaks. Move with him. Keep in time with him. Because he's going to give you the power to do whatever he asks you to do. He's going to give you the strength, the encouragement, the understanding. He will give you what you need to carry out every mission. Once we get to that place that we can accept his presence with pleasure, then we can begin to really lift him up. If we lift him up, he'll draw all men unto him. Got any lost souls you want to see saved? Any folks that you love that you don't want to see them fall off into hell on that great and terrible day? This is how we get to them, Hickey. We embrace Jesus. We really approach him with humble humility and surrender. We accept him and his message wholeheartedly, and we embrace him with love, with pleasure in his presence. and we lift him up, we start lifting up the Lord, the world's going to start noticing. When that love, see, that's part of breaking them barriers. That's part of what we're commissioned. Showing the world a love that they can't even understand. That's where we miss the mark the most. We get caught up, all of us, we get caught up in what we're doing, how we're doing, what we're supposed to be doing. Listen, we're already breaking some of the barriers by being here today. Because in our mind, we've all been told we're supposed to go down some little church house and sit in there. It's supposed to be the same 3 songs and a little message. We go home. Nobody ever told us to get over here and feed the homeless, did they? Nobody ever said reach out into the community and do the work to help them. Nobody ever said go over here and set up a prayer stand so that they can see you and they can ask you to call on the Lord for them. We're already breaking barriers by doing things that are not what we're used to seeing or doing or what somebody told us we ought to have. We just got to keep taking it another step further to show the world a love that they can't comprehend. Makes a difference when people love you for no reason, don't it? It makes a difference in the world when we love them for no reason. So please embrace Jesus and embrace the Spirit of God. Let's quit. Let's quit with all the other. Let's quit with the traditions of men and all those things. Let's quit confining the Lord in our mind. And I'm going to close with it. I promise I'm going to get out of your way. But I say it all the time. We've made up a God in our mind. And we're not worshiping the true God. We're worshiping the made up thought in our head. As long as I sit here, as long as I do this and I don't do that, I'm good. You want a blessed life? You want mediocre or you want miraculous? It's up to us. Get all the stuff out of the way that holds you back and embrace the Lord. So with that said, if y'all would stand to your feet. Can you get us something? Listen, I don't know anybody's heart. Maybe you need to pray about something this morning. And if you do, I'd love to pray with you.